All right, in this section, we're going to divide rationals. Now, to divide fractions, hopefully you remember that that means you multiply by the reciprocal. For instance, that's just a little sidebar here. If I ask you to divide 1/2 divided by 4/5, what you actually would do would be 1/2 times, and you flip this over, 5/4. And then you multiply top to top, bottom to bottom, so that'd be 5/8. That's how we multiply fractions. That was one of the very first things we did this year. So now we're just going to apply that to rational functions. So here's the plan. You're going to change the problem to multiply and flip the back fraction, just like I did here in this example. Then you want to make sure every numerator and every denominator have been factored, and then we get to cancel, okay? Then we'll cancel. So notice your instructions, simplify the expression, box your answer, be sure to state any restrictions on the variables. Now, this one's slightly different because the restrictions, you have to restrict anything that was ever in the denominator. Ever in the denominator. So I'll revisit this in a moment when we do those, but let's look first at number 1. So we're going to start factoring. I'm going to take that first fraction and factor it. That's a difference of squares on top. So x plus 5 times x minus 5 over, this is a GCF, so 3 times x plus 4. Now I'm going to make it multiply, and now we're going to flip this over, right? So I'm going to flip these two and do my factoring, okay? So in the top, I'm multiplying to get -10, but adding to get -3. So that would be, it's going to fall on the bottom over here. So it's going to be, what, -5 and a 2. So x minus 5, x plus 2. This one, multiplying to get 20, but I'm adding to get 9. So that's a 4 and a 5. X plus 5, x plus 4. All right, so notice how we switched them. Now we can do our canceling little gig, all right? So let's see. X plus 5, I don't have any on the bottom. I can cancel. X minus 5 will. X plus 4s will cancel out. And then I can kind of put it all together and see what's left. So notice I have an x plus 5 and an x plus 5. So I can combine that like this. X plus 5 squared. In the denominator, I'll have 3 times x plus 2 left over. Now let's talk about our restrictions, okay? Let's go back. And so x cannot equal, let's go back to our factored guys right in here, all right? So what was in the denominator to start with? Well, this was obviously in the denominator to begin with, right? This is in the denominator. This is in the denominator. What else was in the denominator to start with? Well, these two were as well, right? So you're going to have more restrictions because of we're flipping. We have to consider the top and the bottom, basically, of the second fraction. So let's do this. So we're going to have a -4, and then we're going to have, look, a plus 5 and a minus 5, so positive or -5, and then we'll have a -2. All right, so that's the difference here, okay? Flip the fraction, and you're going to have more restrictions. Let's try another one. Let's do some factoring. So the first one, the 14x cubed, doesn't really reduce. The bottom, I can do a GCF of, let's see, x squared. That leaves me with 2x minus 3 times this guy. Let's do this. So remember, this is going to go on the bottom, or on the top. This will be x. Now remember, this is a difference of squares, so it would be 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3, and that's going to go on the top. So x times 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3. The top here, really not much to talk about, so it's 21x. All right, now let's lean back and see what we can reduce. I see a 2x minus 3. I also see that there's an x cubed on the top and x squared on the bottom. That means there's 3 x's on the top, 2 on the bottom. So I can reduce 2 of those out. Those 2 go out, and I'm left with 1x left here. Then I notice over here in the second fraction, I have an x and an x. Those go away. 14 and 21 are both divisible by 7, so I'm going to reduce. This becomes a 2, this becomes a 3. All right, let's group all of this back up and see what's left over for our answer. All right, I'm going to write it here. So I'll have 2 times 2x plus 3 over what's in the denominator, just a 3. Now let's look about our restrictions, okay? What can x not equal? Well, let's look at our original first equation. So this would give me a restriction of 0, that x squared. This one would give me a restriction of what? Well, it's 2x minus 3, so it would be a positive 3/2. But look at this for a second before you get too crazy. Remember what to do the top and the bottom over here? Isn't this 0 the same as this 0? X minus 3, isn't that the same restriction as this one? Okay, so we've covered those. So now let's just consider what's this one, 2x plus 3. Well, that's going to give me a restriction of, this one is 2x plus 3, so it's going to give me a different restriction. So I just set it equal to 0, and I'll find out that the x cannot equal a negative 3/2 for this one. So when I write my answer, I can just do plus or minus 3/2, and then I just need to list out that 0. Okay, so don't get in a big hurry. Just stop and look at things carefully. All right, let me know what questions you have when you get to class.